an individual can proceed to a more complete level of service in the Almighty God, where his essential commitment to being self-transcendence now permeates every aspect of his personality. Whatever a person owns is a blessing from the Almighty God. When a person shares that with other people, that is the ultimate litmus test if a person is kind. Because everything that we have is a godly blessing. So if a person has good learning, other talents of being able to communicate, that person is required to use them. If a person has the ability to make an impact financially as well, that's their blessing. Why else do they have it? Otherwise, it's just self-centered. So, thank you very much for those who are commenting on Facebook, and I love it, and I read them, and we respond to each thing as appropriately. So, along came the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he exemplified this idea of being able to impact the world, taking the legacy of the Baal Shem Tov, and appreciating the fact that each one of us have the ability to reveal our essential godly nature, which is a rise above our personal identity. That's the matzah. Along came Chabad, which actually is an acronym for Chachma, Bina, and Das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, taking the Baal Shem Tov's, teaching it, and bringing it into the reality of our intellect, allowing them to be integrated and to be applied by each individual's personal framework. So, what is the mission of our generation? What are we supposed to do? And, when I take time out during Passover, a little more calm and more relaxed, especially the last days, you have a chance to think again. All of us, what's the responsibility of our generation? What would you think our generation is charged for? The answer is very simple. We have the ability to bring Mashiach, to bring that awareness. And that is included in the custom of conducting this Mashiach Suda that we had yesterday. This mission is particularly relevant in our times because we want to complete this. Everything is ready. And we want this to happen. And, one should not be at all embarrassed or think that talking about Mashiach will alienate some people. The opposite is true. I think during the difficult time we live today in so many different levels, it's very important that we speak about it more directly and appreciate that. The world is changing. The people are willing and even anxious to hear about Mashiach. It is therefore our duty to reach out, involve as many people as possible in this preparation. So with this, I want to take time out for a moment and share with you that as part of this important thinking differently and coming out of Pesach with all the different changes in terms of dishes and food and menu, and now we're on the day after Passover, where Isru Chag, we're binding the message, the inspiration we had on Passover and bring it into our mundane life. I want to share with you something very, very important. This may sound strange to you. With all the violence and sadness that's gone on in public schools, I think that part of the prevention, obviously you have to deal with the reality of security and how to deal with that, but also, an ounce of prevention could go a long way. How could you prevent these things? And I think a lot of just as we find on the negative, you could have so much disinformation that creates havoc and misinformation. Well, why don't you think the other way around? And in a public school environment, there's a tremendous groundswell thought being put into reintroducing or solidifying and strengthening a moment of silence in public schools. We're talking about a moment of silence is a 1 or 2 minute period of silent contemplation to be conducted by in public schools beginning each school day. Now, just to keep you up to date, because I know that you're wondering about this, a moment of silence has actually been ruled legal in 37 states by the federal government. And that's all online. You can find out. 37 states have been mandated that it's been ruled legal by the federal government. Nevertheless, for it to be implemented, it has to be legislated on the state level to be implemented. In the states where it is optional, the decision falls to every school board. Now, it's currently mandated for public schools in 12 states and encouraged but not required in another 25. Nonetheless, many schools have not institutionalized this practice as they are either ignorant or indifferent to the laws. Now, the whole purpose of this moment of silence is for the students may think or do as they wish, as long as they stay seated quietly. For some, it could be a chance to contemplate whatever their parents have instructed them, while for others, this may be seen as an opportunity to whatever, make a prayer, whatever, but all silence. Nothing must come from the teachers or the principals of what to do. That would be coming from the parents. And this need not be in any way promoting prayer, because that obviously would be an act of violation of the separation of church and state. And therefore, there's a growing body of evidence that attests to the positive impact of a moment of silence in schools. And therefore, I'm asking you, if you're a teacher, or you're a parent, or you are a student, and would like to join our effort to reach out to school districts, superintendents, to PTAs. PTAs are a wonderful source because ultimately there's enough law, you could say, that would allow it, as long as it's legislated, being permission, of course, by the local school board or the local PTA, working in tandem with the principals. So therefore, hello, my name is Rabbi Pearl, and I'm inviting you to call us or send us an email. You can call us at 516-739-3636 or email us at rabbipearl@chabadmineola.com. Chabad is CHABADMINEOLA.com. With my first name at the beginning, Rabbi Pearl @ChabadMineola, and say you'd like more information to join us. And I want to thank Stephen White, who pointed out to me the law that allows that in the state. But again, this is something extraordinarily important and can be very, very helpful on a local level. And the Rebbe who really initiated this, going back to 1962, feels that this would involve the parents more involved. You know, let's be honest, less and less children are going to Sunday school, religious school, whatever background you go to. Right? So there's less and less religious education going on. There's less and less involvement of parents in their children's education, in their moral education. Everything is left to public school. Well, in public school, there is no direct discussion about how to live life morally. And sadly, we find that many, many areas of life, in terms of that, is not being addressed in any level. So, therefore, where are children who are being given all this body of information, learning, education, learn how to be a mensch, how to deal with this, and how to make the right choices in life? That has to come to the parents. So, think of it on the most simplest level. If parents know their child is going to school and they're going to have a moment of silence, maybe it would create a discussion with parents. I think we even have are we taking phone calls today? If we do, we will find out if there's somebody who's joining us. Is it for our program? Good morning. Good morning. I am not sure if this is people are calling in, but if you do want to call in, we've got about 5 minutes at 516-572-7440. That is our direct line if you want to join us in your thoughts about this. But I believe that the Rebbe saw something in a long term, that when parents, even this minimal opportunity, when you have that moment of silence, dear Harry, think about helping your friend next to you, sitting to you. Please keep away from bullying. Please be careful not to get involved with anything negative in terms of addictive drugs and stuff like that. And or during that moment of silence, think about the Almighty God. Think about the blessings of life, whatever it may be. Parents certainly have a right to create standards for their children on what is right and what is wrong. Right? I hope that hasn't been given up in terms of the obligation and responsibility of parents to their children. So I think the time has come, especially during this rather volatile time in terms of the problems of even young people coming into schools. I think perhaps we may have a phone call coming in. And welcome. Good morning. This is Rabbi Pearl. Welcome. Thank you so much. I really believe... Hello? Would you like to discuss our conversation on the moment of silence? I think that person is actually having a moment of silence. That's actually good. Calling in, you're allowed to talk. If you want to call in and talk, that's fine. If you want to call and make a moment of silence, don't bother calling, because the silence is golden. It's much better that way. So even if, Gene Brandenstein, a wonderful listener, says, even if we do not have children in the district, we all vote for the budget. Do we have a say? That's an interesting question. If we have a say about the budget, perhaps there should be, and the more people that we know who would like to join this effort, the more we can do. And we look forward to reaching out to the superintendents who have been, to my knowledge and to my experience, have been very open to these conversations. So I want to thank everybody for joining us and appreciating that this day, the day after Passover, although for many it's a little bit more less stress and back to the chametz and back to the typical day, but on the other hand, allow the lingering of what Passover is all about. And of course, Passover is all about the freedom of speech. Passover, we did a lot of talking, sat around the Seder, because being able to talk, freedom of speech, is very, very important. And that's just like a slave is not able to talk, just has to be told what to do and has no right to talk back. Well, Passover was the day when we became free, and therefore speech is appreciated. But at the same time, we must know that even though we talk about and appreciate living in America, where we live in a beautiful democracy, and the First Amendment promises the freedom of speech. Free speech means we can protest, advocate, object, speak our minds. But free speech has restrictions. You can't use your words to incite or libel someone. You may not freely share obscenities or plagiarize someone else's words. Judaism also believes in freedom of speech, and indeed seeks the capacity to reckon this is one of the greatest expressions of freedom that we have. At the same time, you see, American law tolerates speech which is negative, sadly insensitive and tactless. Torah has no tolerance for noxious doctrine. We're not allowed to speak gossip about somebody else, whether it's true or not. Hey, listen, the moment of silence has come my way, where I'm told it's time for me to say goodbye. So wishing everybody a good day. Remember, take the wonderful lessons of Passover and allow it to linger in today and into the coming days with blessings, for good, and for joy. Rabbi Pearl, thank you so much for joining us. Sei gesund and stay well.